10 foot off the road. We're going to put her in the ditch for tonight.
Hey, son. Osceola. Opening day tomorrow.
The night seems longer and the wind blows louder when you want to tell me. This one's coming in. If I cross your mind, say a prayer, I'll find my way. And get off
The wild turkey. What a bird.
Tell me, can you hear me? I've been calling out for help, still don't see nobody.
Got me down, son.
Their gobble seems to ring through the spring like rolling thunder.
Did I completely miss the first shot?
2024 was our best spring ever, and was one more opportunity to chase these wild turkeys in God's great creation.
Can you shoot it? Can you shoot it? Not yet. You cannot draw that up any better on your first turkey.
This is Buffalo Creek Outdoors, and this is turkey season. Guys, what we're going to do, we're going to start doing kind of a recap of our hunts. This hunt that we're actually getting ready to talk about is a hunt that these guys had 2 years ago.
Yep.
So 2023? No.
22. Yeah.
No, 23.
20.
Yeah, because this would have been, yeah. So
23.
these guys actually went on a public land Florida turkey hunt and found success in the first day of hunting.
open morning.
A lot of things I had to explain to him was, number one, well, we ain't doing hotels. We don't do the camper. It's more or less roughing it in the public land of Florida. Tent, emu, hammock, whatever you got. We met one of our buddies from Louisiana. He drove down, met us there.
What were the dates?
It's mid-March, probably the 18th.
It was the 18th. We got there the
Yes.
18th.
So opening day was that following Saturday. We left Friday morning real early.
5 a.m.
Yep. Other buddies, they left down Wednesday. They want to get down there and scout. They've been to the property before. They knew some spots they wanted to go try from the previous years.
So did the scout, what did them scouting, did y'all kill anywhere near where they had scouted, or was it just?
No, so that's kind of what I was getting at was they were scouting for us, but also for themselves, and we didn't really want to solely rely on their scouting tactics, which we trust them. They're friends, they ain't gonna do us dirty, but we also wanted to help put in our time of scouting. We didn't want them to do all the work and us just show up and kill a bird. So they scouted for a day and a half before we got there. We got there midday Friday, or early afternoon Friday. Went to Walmart, got our license, met them at camp, put our hammocks up. No, we didn't do that first. We immediately went to the woods.
Loaded up, went to the woods.
Went scouting. They gave us a bunch of pins to try that they have not scouted yet from previous years. But they have heard or seen birds there the previous years. It's like we're trying a different block that we ain't tried yet, so we're going to go way up here.
Is this big
old giant
sections, or
public
is it
section.
It's one
huge section. Which that's where
roads and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Dirt roads, cross paved roads, you can get on paved roads. I mean, it's massive. And you actually get your true Osceola the farther south you are, but you also have that chance of getting that hybrid, which you can tell in their wings and whatnot. Totally different terrain than what we're used to hunting back here. Thick palmettos everywhere.
Bunch of water.
And believe it or not, these turkeys, these Osceolas, man, you wouldn't think they'll go through that water. They ain't got no choice but to, you know. And that's what was so hard for us this year, actually. We went back again this year, was we was flooded with water, birds everywhere, gobbling. We've seen some out in some public land fields that butted up to the private fields butting up to public. But before we get ahead, back to our scouting trip, we went and checked a bunch of different spots. Started about 3:30 scouting. Wasn't very successful in many of the pins that they dropped us as far as striking a bird, which was early in the evening. So either they're wanting a bird there or he just wasn't hot. A little bit of sign on the roads, tracks and whatnot, but once you get off the dirt road, man, it's hard to find sign unless you find actual poop on the road you're walking on. Because if you get out in the palmettos, you're good luck even seeing the ground. I mean, you're looking for cottonmouths constantly, rattlesnakes, mosquitoes are terrible. I mean, you would think
Yeah,
a whole
pack,
bottle.
like multiple thermocells.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you bring yours?
No, we
We
forgot.
didn't bring thermocells or bug spray. We're bumming them off our buddies, and wish we'd have bummed a thermocell. But the spray worked better than nothing.
Yes, you'd soak down in deep. I mean, it was just.
And sleeping at night, oh man, it's hot, humid, and muggy. You're in Florida.
Yeah, bugs.
Bugs are terrible, and I didn't have a mosquito net, so I get tore up sleeping in my hammock. I mean, you don't want to cover up with a blanket to keep from biting you because you sweat, but you don't want to not use a blanket. Just pick your battle. Get eat up by mosquitoes or sweat.
Yeah. So it's like, at least for us in North Carolina, like it's kind of the opposite of how it is when I go from North Carolina to out west. Like you go from it's hot as crap here to cold out west. Well, this hunt's kind of the same thing. Our season doesn't come in till second week of April.
Right.
So hunts like this allow us to kind of extend that turkey season farther forward, so up into March. But the temperatures and the humidity and the mosquitoes, like early March, our mosquitoes here really hadn't gotten thick yet. But down there, it's so much farther forward as far as a time frame.
Ahead of time and temperature and everything.
So that type of a hunt, you
the
just gotta
greenery,
keep that in
even the
mind.
greenery,
Yeah.
everything just started green.
Yeah. So even though it's in March, this isn't a typical like long shirt or long sleeve jacket type of March weather. This is already hot.
It's like a mid to late April,
Yeah.
North Carolina hunt.
Yeah.
I mean,
So it's completely different. All right.
What did we? So we tried multiple different points.
tried multiple different points. The first few we went to, I mean, we would strike nothing. And
Yeah, we was talking about not much sign. Now there are dirt roads that run through this tract of land that's kind of sandy, white. You will see a bunch of tracks crossing where they cross the road. The wet ditches, you'll see where a bird will cross, and you'll just look like, where is he going? It's so thick, just palmettos. And I don't know much about Osceolas. I still have not killed one yet myself, but doing your research on them, they're a smaller bird, longer legs. You learn about the darker wing tips on them and stuff. But put two and two together, a smaller bird, maybe because of the food source, maybe, or even the length of their legs, maybe because of that water that they constantly walk through. I mean, you just stuff you think about, and little things like that maybe help you become a successful hunter when it comes to hunting these Osceolas, which I still have not figured out yet. We went back again this year and didn't even get a bird within range to pull our gun up, but we saw them. Got pictures of them, video of them. Heard gobbles. It was fun, and that's to me is what it's all about. But
So
still
how
ain't
did
killed
y'all-
one yet.
So how did y'all figure out if y'all weren't able to roost them? How were y'all able to get on that bird?
I think our thing was it's so thick, right? So we're getting there. It's mid to late afternoon, so they're already on the ground, So we're gonna all right, we're gonna try to hunt it like we would in North Carolina or South Carolina. So I was like,
This
well,
is the day. This is the morning after.
no, this
You're
is
still talking about this.
still
Friday evening?
scouting.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're like, well, we're just gonna look for open areas alongside the road.
We're trying to put North Carolina hunting into Florida.
Maybe some
What we would
lanes,
try back home.
where there might be feeding or whatever. So we'd park the truck, strike, walk down a road, see if we can see something down a lane or on the road. And that was kind of our attack was it's so thick we're not going to be walking through the woods. So
At this point, were y'all looking on a map
oh yeah,
on your phone, or were you just like driving down the roads and just kind of guessing?
Both. A little bit of both. I mean, because like I said, my buddies gave us some pins from previous years, and we'd kind of look at the surrounding on the map, the surrounding terrain. It's like, okay, this pin is in this area. What?
So you had a reason behind where you were hitting. It
Yeah.
wasn't just kind of like go with the flow.
No, the other guys, yeah, because they were on new tracks. They were just kind of, all right, on the tracks that we have killed birds, this is what we need to look for. And what
Right.
they say they were looking for was creek bottoms, which everything's basically flat, so you don't really know what a bottom is. But everything out there is basically pines with palmettos. If you find a tract of hardwoods, there's typically a small creek that runs through it. And that's where them birds like to roost. Finding where they want to pitch down, that's the problem. Because everything
Kinda like
around
that
there is so
habitat edge
thick.
or whatever.
Yes.
and
But you can normally hear them from the road. They might be 500 yards in, but you don't think you could hear that far, but it's so flat. and it's not dense, so it carries a long way. So back to what he was getting at was we kind of found a point here and a point here, and we was going in between, and we just kind of found this little sliver of pines that have been cleared in the past. They got a bunch of growed up palmettos and then a long narrow sliver of hardwoods.
Right.
To open back up into like a funnel of hardwoods. So it's like, let's just
oaks and stuff like that.
Yep. And that's where we saw a hen.
Yeah.
And then a gobbler, we believe, is what flew up behind her
Right.
That afternoon.
going back to camp. We wasn't really giving up. We was like, we'll just scout on our way back because it's getting dark. Something ought to be roosted by now. So we'll just meet the guys back at camp.
And they weren't vocal. We didn't
Weren't
hear a
vocal.
gobble. So our best bet was like, all right, we're just going to try to ease our way back, strike up maybe here and there. But like, it was sight. You know, we were really looking for birds just to see if we could see sign or
And
anything.
this first day in Florida, we're excited as crap. So we tried to cover as much ground as possible to get on a
Yeah, we're
bird
still on that.
on that high.
What is it? Pre-hunt high.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, we saw them couple birds. We're like, well, this is definitely the best sign we've seen yet. So, and then this late, this is what we're gonna try in the morning.
All for a Florida Osceola Gobbler.
We were literally like,
Todd, what was you thinking?
man, I was thinking about that bird we just heard.
Roughly 30-minute drive where we had to hunt, and not to mention we didn't want to get too close to where we was gonna set up. So another mile walk just to make sure we wasn't too close.
So at this point, you're kind of zeroing in on those birds that y'all saw that afternoon.
Yeah, we thought our best bet was we didn't hear any gobbles, we didn't see much sign, so we said we're just gonna get back to where we
Definitely
saw
It's kind of
birds.
like you don't
know?
want to leave turkeys to find turkeys.
Right.
Yep.
essentially.
Exactly.
So that's more or less what we did. We had a bird marked, knew which way he flew versus which side of the road he was roosting on. To our best knowledge, we knew which side of the road that bird was roosted on. On Onyx, we dropped a pin, a couple of pins on far as this is where we saw him. This is the way he flew across. Put a big circle on the map and said he's in these trees somewhere.
All right.
And it's dark. We should have done a little bit better preparing that evening on where we was going to set up as far as which tree we was going to get on and all that. Going into the dark, we didn't want to turn many lights on or anything, so we just kind of,
Was this the only road near where that turkey went that
This-
you thought
as
he
far
was?
as a,
Right.
yeah, as far as a straight road, yes. Back behind us, kind of where we parked, was a crossroads. And then way past him is another crossroads.
Yeah.
But,
But that's the closest road for him to pitch down and come out to and start.
yep. Because as far as looking on the map, there was no openings. And everything we looked at driving down the road that day, everything was thick. It was probably a 2-year-old burnt timber, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
But the palmettos evidently either don't burn or they just come back that quick because it's just thick.
Yeah.
And in our first year, we didn't know what to expect. So there's kind of like the wildlife kind of manage. So if you're going down the road, the bird was on the right, but on the left hand side, it's like they manage a little somewhat of a food plot, or maybe just a green opening that they keep bush hogged. Our buddy said some of them are food plots and others are just grass that they keep on the shoulders for wildlife. And it ain't big. It ain't probably 30 yards wide. So when we found a little covey or group of trees that had some palmettos and briars and just a bunch of junk in it, we kind of got set up on that. We was like, all right, well, if he pitches down this road, we'll call him to us. Like,
Right.
obviously, it's just food plot, straight road, or he's going to go into palmettos and we'll never see him again. So we felt pretty confident about that idea. Well, heard some gobbles as the sun come up without us even having to call at them.
Just him or multiple.
We heard
Multiple birds.
multiple birds, but the one we knew was him was the one we set up on because it was the closest one we heard.
Okay.
We did hear one behind us for sure.
Yeah, we heard. From what I remember, I think we heard 2 out in front of us, and then we heard 1 to our right, and then 1 behind us. And we had parked the truck before the first crossroad, and we walked a mile, and just picked a spot. We didn't really know. We just kind of want to sit there and listen. Maybe if he pitches, hits the ground, we could have adjusted and gotten a better
that
spot.
goes back.
Y'all didn't call.
We ain't called none
Nope.
yet. No. That goes back to us not really doing our best scouting the day before as far as picking a spot to
Right.
set up and hunt him. So if he would have been roosted right above us as we was just standing there waiting for the sun to come up or waiting for that first gobble, we'd have probably got busted.
Yeah.
Because it'd been so light, he would have silhouetted us or something. Thought about, it got like legal shooting light, and we still ain't heard a gobble. So right before we started talking about trying to locate, we didn't have to because they finally started firing off.
How close to the road were they roosted?
Maybe 100 yards, maybe more. It's kind of hard to tell, but from what I understood, it's probably 100 yards, maybe
In
200.
those hardwoods.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yes sir.
Yep. 'Cause them pines were very thin pines. I mean, you probably a pine tree every 20 foot, 15 foot apart. I mean, perfectly rode pines. But
How tall? Like tall pines?
Tall pines.
Tall pines.
Like they're roosted, like pines they could roost
Oh, yeah.
in? Or
Yep. Yep.
They-
Roostable pines, but I do believe they were probably roosted in the hardwoods on the back side of the pines, which is why, because like I said, them pines are so thin that as the sun's coming up, you'll be able to look through them pines and pick out a bird in that tree. So I'm thinking they.
And that's where you said you thought they had burned.
Yep.
A couple of years.
Yeah. So I'm thinking when they pitch in the evenings, they either stand on that road and pitch way up through them pines to get to the hardwoods, or they'll just kind of meander through them palmettos till they find them a tree and get right up in it. But
And then I would say like around dusk, we're sitting there. We had heard a good number of gobbles, and we were like, okay, he's, at this point he's in range. He's gobbling. He's fired up.
well, and at this point we start hearing some hens too.
Yeah.
That some are real hens, and others you can tell, man, there's another hunter over there.
And that would be as where y'all are set up. You're off the road,
Yeah.
facing like where the turkey was
We're
gobbling.
we're facing where the bird was gobbling. Probably from like 11 to 1 is kind of where we were looking at.
and you start hearing hens to y'all's right.
Oh yeah.
or
All the
to
way
left.
to our, we started hearing hens to our right, and
That's our left.
our left,
Yeah.
and our bird started responding to those hens, and we were like, well, we thought it was a hunter. So we were like, all right, we're pretty close to these people at this point. I would say we're 200 yards away, maybe.
And you thought those were hunters
100%.
to the left.
Mm-hmm. And then I would say we keep hearing them response. I would chip in there. I'd try to slate call, and they would respond to us too. And then the bird kind of just went quiet. And right after legal shooting light, I'd say 10 minutes past the legal shooting light.
Well, I can't remember. Something happened. We either heard or saw a bird pitch down, and then maybe saw it standing out there in the road. What happened? Do you remember what happened?
So what happened was we thought we heard a bird pitch, and we thought it was going to come down the road from our left, and we were like, okay, but our thing was the hunters was also to our left. So we thought we heard it pitch down, and we kind of, at that point, we had gotten set up. We were like, okay, he's on the ground, he's gobbling, he's close. We're gonna try to get set up here.
That gobble was getting louder and louder, and you can tell he's coming. And the hen that we, at the time, still didn't know whether it was a hen or a hunter.
Right.
And like he said, as it was getting lighter and lighter, I think that's when we could see something on the road. We didn't know if it was a hunter literally sitting in the middle of the road, or maybe that's when we saw his decoy.
That's when we saw his decoy.
We saw a decoy in the middle of the road.
So he's in between you and the turkey. The hunter is in between
The
you.
turkey
I
was splitting
think
us.
the turkey was splitting us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was basically he went one way or the other.
Has
And
y'all called yet?
we had called.
Yep.
Okay,
We
y'all
had
called.
And he's been responding to both.
to both. And
Like we said at that time, we thought we was calling against a real hen, trying to pull that hen to get the gobbler. But then as the sun come up, we noticed it's a decoy because it wasn't moving.
right.
And we're
So
like,
they had came in from
They had
the
to-
other way.
They
Y'all
came in from the other
this
crossroad, right?
yep,
way. Okay.
yep. So
And it from crossroad to crossroad, it's maybe 2 miles. So
yeah, it's a long stretch.
So y'all just kind of split the difference.
Exactly.
Y'all ended up right in the middle.
exactly.
Yep. Well, then, like we said, we heard that pitch and all that action went on. Well, then that gobble kept getting closer and closer, and I keep whispering to Basil, I'm like, he's about to come out, and we're going to see him. We just don't know if he's going to be closer to us or closer to them. About that time,
Boom.
blew his brains out.
Yeah.
We heard that gunshot.
We don't know. We heard a shot.
Yeah, well, yeah, we don't know.
Whether
what
the
killed
bird was killed or not, we're not sure, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But we heard a shot. They shoot. They
him.
jump
And we
up,
saw him standing up.
and
But we never saw him pick up a bird.
they didn't pick up a bird,
So
and
we
they
thought
weren't
they
celebrating.
missed. Yeah, you never saw anybody jumping, hooting, and hollering, but you could see the hunters.
And we didn't know if they were trying to be quiet and they didn't want to give away that spot or anything, because there was a bunch of birds in that area. So we heard them shoot, we saw them get up, and we're like, all right, we're blown here.
So
So
the other birds we heard to our right, because we heard another one behind us, and we turned around like, yeah, we ain't getting through that. Like it's thick, tall, nasty. Like if that bird's in there, we got to find a way around. So the closest one's to the right. We kind of pack up, get gathered up, and
regroup a little bit, check the maps.
Check the maps.
We're like, hey, we could try this, this, and this.
And we was a mile from the truck, like we said, when we walked in. So we're gonna get a little ways away from this gunshot and try to strike something else up. Maybe that bird we heard has been working towards us all morning quietly.
Yeah.
And could be coming in silent. So we didn't want to just go to the truck as quick as possible and blow a bird out. So we get nowhere near the truck, but there's kind of a horseshoe in the road, or a dog leg to the left, and then the truck's on down way down there. We're coming around this corner, and have we done cold one time?
We called right before that crossroad, and our truck was maybe 300 yards past that crossroad. So
Nothing.
we get to 100 yards before that crossroad, we yelp, and nothing. And then the road kind of starts to bend off, so we just keep walking.
That's when I
And
saw that black spot.
then we look, and I'm like, what is that in the road?
Right.
And there was a
Right,
bird
turkey.
strutting in the road.
No, he wasn't in the road yet. We saw
He was on the edge.
He's on the
on
edge
the
of
edge.
the green.
Right near our truck. Like, he was probably 50 yards from our truck. And
But I never put two and two together, and I don't think you did neither after you killed it. But I think that might have been that bird we heard to our right that morning.
probably.
We never talked about that, did we?
No.
It very well could have been, now that I'm thinking about that. But after we saw that bird, we kind of backed back up around that dog leg just to get out of sight. We hit the slate, and he answered.
Boom.
I was like, okay, Basil, he gobbled. He's a gobbler.
And he's
We
fired up.
think. I mean, we couldn't tell the distinct difference between a Jake gobble and a gobbler.
All right. If it was a Jake, would you have shot it?
100%.
Yeah.
It's going. I mean, neither
First,
you nor I had killed an Osceola.
First public land hunt,
And
Osceola man, yeah, he would have got it.
after our experience that morning with a hunter that we didn't know was right there and kind of just shot, I mean, we were like, well, we're not
And
going
knowing,
away.
knowing that we
empty-handed.
have one full day and a half of another to hunt.
Right.
I mean, we was pretty pumped just to hear a gobble that
Oh,
close.
yeah.
Knowing we're about to have an opportunity, whether it happens or not.
We weren't going to drive 20 hours and not kill him.
So then, after we got him to gobble, we kind of backed off another 20 yards back towards where we come from and tucked up. Very first pine tree we come up on, maybe 2 yards behind some palmettos. First pine tree on the edge there.
You were set back from.
I was
Basil,
kind of
right?
set back. No, I was in front.
It was
He was back from me because I had the
Okay.
camera. So I should have sat behind him, but I found a good tree up close that had a bunch of cover for the camera.
yeah.
And then when the tree he sat at didn't have hardly much cover, but I'm set kind of up. If he's behind, I'm kind of up to his left, and the bird's coming from the left. So I obviously had a shot before he did because it had to clear me before he could shoot. But we sat down, and literally the first time he yelled on that mouth call,
Boom.
Go get him, son. Go get him. What'd you just do, Basil? What'd you just do, son? Huh? What'd you just do, son?
How about it?
Come on!
Oh yeah, baby! Look at the colors.
Look at that Florida Osceola Gobbler, baby. What just happened, son?
Dude, we just f***ing killed a turkey, baby.
Look
8-inch
at that
spear.
bird.
Son!
Look, there's them dudes. I bet they pissed. So we set up way down that road this morning. We had one peeing last night. Got on him this morning and set up. We had some guys softy upping at him, and he only gobbled twice on the limb, so we heard them shoot. We think they missed. We started heading back to the truck. We looked around the bend up there. We had him up in the field about 200 yards.
They're coming to get our bird too.
We sat up right here on the side of the road. We caught him all the way down to us. And Basil put the hammer down on old Osceola Gobbler. Opening morning in Florida, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah!
I could see him at this.
Y'all are close
Actually,
enough
I
y'all
could-
can talk to each other.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I could hear his wings dragging that dirt road before I saw him. That's how close he was getting and fast. And then at that point, he's close enough. I hear him spitting and drumming. And I was just guns up, trying to run the camera. And I'm like, I keep whispering to Basil. I'm like, Basil, if he gets skittish, I have a shot. I'm taking it. Because I knew I was letting him shoot first. Well, he got in my line of sight. And I'm like, can you see him? He said, no. He moved another 5 foot. Said, can you see him or no?
On his fingers, right?
Oh yeah, he's like, no, not yet. And then it got to the point where I kept asking him, he wasn't answering me. I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I got to shoot this turkey out from under him or what? And then about that time, he's about right in front of me. I'm like, surely he can see this bird. I'm like, Basil, can you see him? And he said, boom! That sucker folded. He did the old flop.
Flop.
Basil's a hollering. I don't
He
know.
flopped into the ditch, the water
Yeah.
ditch.
Yeah, I don't know what happened after the shot besides me trying to get up. I don't know what all I recorded trying
You
to
got
get
it
up.
all. You
I
got
got-
all of them.
really?
You got Basil running across the road and over there holding that turkey up like this, hooting and hollering.
That was all. It was fun. I mean, just from the, and I don't know, you could probably count the seconds in the video, but from the time I hit record, which is the time we sat down, to the time he killed, it might have been 2 minutes.
It was,
I mean, he
it was
come fast.
just like that. I mean,
Yeah, and for those of
felt
you
like
that
2
have never
minutes.
turkey hunted with a cameraman or multiple hunters that are set, like even though like several times Hunter and I have been setting like essentially at the same tree, but
And I'm getting
the
better
shot
this year.
ability, like-
This year was better, but this hunt was my first ever recorded turkey hunt. It was
yeah, and
I learned
like,
a lot
sometimes
just from
you'll
that
see
one
in the
hunt.
Camera, like you're like, why is this guy not shooting this turkey? Why is this guy not shooting this turkey?
different angles.
But then you go, if you were able to see exactly where the hunter's setting, you might only be several feet off from each other, but the shot angles and stuff are completely different.
Right.
So that's why a lot of times, especially somebody that's filmed, it's kind of like this eye that you get to be able to know where to set up.
well, even you and me sitting side by side in Kentucky
Yeah.
this year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, why is he not shooting this bird? And we go back and look at each other's different
Yep.
footage. You can see clear as day there was a tree.
Yeah.
When it's in his line of sight, there's a tree in front of me. When it's in my line of sight, there's a tree in front of him.
Yeah. So
And we are almost
camera
side by
adds-
side.
The camera adds that added stress, because how many times have we talked about where you're sitting there, so you feel like the bird's getting ready to bust. In
Yeah.
your mind, you're like, this bird
You gotta-
is getting ready
you
to
start
bust.
panicking.
You need to shoot right now. But then you go back and watch the footage, and the bird probably would have sat there for another 30 minutes. Like, it's all this added pressure that the camera adds, especially like essentially your first time filming.
Yeah.
And,
And I
y'all's
just-
first time in Florida, I can only imagine both of y'all are probably just amped.
Yeah.
The only thing going through my head besides trying to get this on film, because I didn't own the camera this time, I don't think. I think I was still borrowing it from you. Only thing in my head is like, I got to get this on film. But also, I do want to kill a turkey on the first morning in Florida ever. That's the only thing going through my head.
And I started filming this year too a lot, and I mean, just you do get faced with that question like, am I gonna kill this bird or am I gonna film this bird? And
Yeah.
you got it weighs on you a little bit.
Yeah.
You never know.
I've been doing it since what 2016 or 17, and I'm still not at that point where like you asked me which ones of these were on film.
Yeah,
I was about to
Sometimes
mention
it
that.
ain't gonna be on this.
Yeah.
Whichever
one.
one-
I'm gonna get it on
whichever
film.
one
Yeah.
worked out. You know.
Exactly.
So
But it is cool just being able to, like what we're doing right now, reliving this hunt, talking about it. Me and McKenna was watching some of your videos last night, and one of our turkey hunts from last year actually. And I was talking about how cool it was to be able to sit there on the couch, knowing this happened 2 years ago, being able to watch it and just
Yeah.
relive that moment.
yeah, it's aggravating toting that stuff around, but man, when
Man,
it
it's
comes
worth it.
Makes it
together,
worth
it's-
it.
Yeah, like just sitting here chit chatting about the hunt. You know, it's
Yeah.
fun doing that. But you said after y'all shot the bird, what I got of the footage you gave me, it looked like when y'all went up to the bird and turned, there were hunters coming up the road.
So that's
We
what
didn't-
he was saying he was going to come back to.
So we shot this bird, and we were all screaming. We were happy. We got the bird. It was soaking wet, but we were in the road dancing, whatever. And we looked behind us, and the hunters that had shot earlier, they had been creeping up the road, and they were standing up, heads down, walking back to the truck.
They were trying to put the stalk on that bird that he shot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were trying to reap him because we never heard him call.
Nope.
But you think it was the same hunters from earlier?
100%.
It was because after they come drive, like you said, they tucked their head and walked back because they
And
knew
then-
the bird was dead. Then here they come back in their pickup truck.
Yeah.
When they walked back, they just went in their truck, come back up, started talking to us. It's like, yeah, we was trying to put a move on this bird. We didn't know y'all was up here. It's like, well, was that y'all that just shot earlier this morning? I said, yeah, that was us. He said, yeah, we got him. He's in the back of the truck, which we never went back there and looked at it. But
I didn't see a bird.
But there was 2 hunters, so we figured one of them killed first thing, and the other hunter was trying to kill the second one. And talked with them for a little bit, and they were somewhere in North Carolina too.
Okay.
They come down.
And they
They
were
had a YouTube channel. Didn't
they were filming as well.
Yeah, they were
yeah.
filming too.
What was their channel? You remember?
It was that card that was in my truck, and I showed you. When we was going to. Remember we ran, or I showed you their booth at the
Oh yeah.
Dixie Deer Classic.
Uh-huh.
That was them.
I don't remember. I don't remember now who it was.
I think I still got that card in my truck, but chit chatted with them for a little bit, and they went on about their way, and we was texting all the guys, all excited, like bird down, and everybody's like, "Man, that's first one, yeah, good job." And Renee killed his mid morning or lunchtime.
He killed his the next day.
No, because the next day he went to kill another one.
Oh, did he kill two?
No, he went to kill another one.
Oh,
But Buggy
yeah.
spooked it. Remember?
I remember.
He was hunting on the side of the park where you can ride 4-wheelers and UTVs and stuff.
Mm.
So that second day, he went back in there to go get on another bird and had him stuck at like 80 yards behind like a pile of bushes or something, and it's people on the UTV.
Kevin must be riding that around trying to get asleep.
Renee claims that some people on the UTV come through there and spooked his bird. He heard them coming, and he said that turkey stuck his head up and off he went.
Huh.
And one thing that was pretty cool was the difference between my bird and his bird. We were in the same area, but his was more of a hybrid, and mine was more of a true Osceola with the black tips and everything. And
Okay.
Yep.
it was really cool to see like the difference.
See them up close, yeah,
So
side
you
by
can
side.
tell-
You
can
can
see
definitely
the visible
tell.
difference.
You know,
between the two.
same area, same time.
Did one
like,
look more like an Eastern?
oh yeah,
the
it was
hybrid
one was
looked like-
definitely
like
more
an
of an
Eastern.
Eastern.
Yep, you could definitely. The biggest thing to tell the difference to me was I think they got the same size, body wise, but the legs are
The
obviously
legs.
longer, and the wingtips.
Huh.
Jet black. I mean, his was dark wingtips. I mean, it was just significantly different. You could tell for sure.
What about spurs and beard? Is there a difference there between the two, or
The
Most he had
pretty
average
similar.
average
it's pretty
spurs,
similar.
but most Osceolas definitely got some pretty
Longer
quick and good
spurs.
large
Mhm.
hooks.
Hmm.
But his was bigger than Renee's because his was more of a true Osceola, but Renee's was definitely a hybrid, but more Eastern than anything. You could tell for sure.
The blonde wingtips and everything.
Yeah.
And
And size wise though, they're still same size birds.
Mhm.
But
So
It's a-
even
it's an
though it's a
experience.
hybrid, can you claim that as an Osceola, or does it have to be?
I would 100%. If I'm
Yeah.
in Florida and killed what
Well,
I
I
would
mean, if you were
consider,
going to try to shoot a slam,
oh,
would that be considered an Osceola?
I
So
wouldn't recommend it. No.
if you're trying to do the slam,
I'd go down
I would go
South Florida.
down.
Yeah.
Keep going down because there's a big argument about whether it's an Osceola or not because it's a hybrid.
Yeah.
And based on where we were, it very well could have not been a true Osceola.
Yeah.
I mean, personal preference, you could, if you killed a bird in Florida, you could consider it a slam, but if you're
Trying to do an official
trying to do an
slam.
official slam, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it.
And farther south, the season comes in another week or so
I
early.
think another
yeah.
2 weeks, I
2
think.
weeks
Yeah, I
earlier.
think another 2 weeks. Definitely a week and a half, maybe, but yeah, for sure. Because one of our buddies actually that meets us down in Florida, Todd, he lives in South Florida, and he hunts there, and does a lot of scouting for us too, even months before season comes in, where we meet him in Florida. But he's been a huge help every year for everybody's success too. But then the dang rain.
Kicked up again.
Dang rain set in after he killed his. The rain set in and rained all day, and you look on the radar and you'd see a 1 hour break. You'd be in the truck taking a nap or back at camp in the Enu, staying dry, taking a nap. All right, I gotta wake up at 2 o'clock because I'm gonna have an hour break. Get dressed up, run out there to your spot. Say you're gonna have an hour break, you get 15 minutes worth of no rain.
And
And then towards the end of the day, we're like, man, we gotta leave tomorrow. Might as well hunt. So we sat in the rain all afternoon.
And we would definitely recommend going back to camp, maybe taking a nap. We stuck out through the rain the entire day, and
Yeah,
we did see some birds. But
saw a pair.
yeah, we
one
saw
time.
2 toms. But
And the rain hitting them palmettos, man, it's got to be loud because they didn't look like there was 120 yards and hammering as hard as we can on a slate call and don't even seem like it phased them.
Huh.
So they either on a mission to get out of the rain or they just didn't want nothing to do with us.
right,
And even went back there late that evening to set up on them, try to catch them, maybe come back to roost, judging by the direction they was going when we saw them.
And they were just on the road.
on the road.
Kind of crossing, running parallel / perpendicular, crossing it. Looked on the map as we was sitting in the truck during the rain. It's like, all right, well, we saw them and the direction they were going, there's nowhere for them to roost, we would think, because it was short pines. And we kind of picked a spot back behind if they were coming back where they would have roosted. Sat up on the edge of a field, edge of some taller trees that we thought they would have roosted in, and never heard or saw a sign.
Just got wet.
Yep,
Yeah.
very, very wet.
So I wonder how, like, in our area, it's not real swampy. I mean, there are some swampy places, but when it rains, generally speaking, if your birds have a green field of some kind, like a short green field or a tilled up field, that's where you'll find the birds, especially midday. If it's unless it's just an absolute monsoon, if it's just raining, a lot of times you'll find them out in the fields. But I wonder how being wet water, like just that area, I wonder if the rain really affects them as much as it does here, or more
Well,
than it does here.
So when it was raining, so after we killed our bird, we went to go eat, and we were scouting all over, and we found a few private fields, and there's birds in those private fields.
seems
in the middle
about
of
the
rain.
same, yeah,
It's about the
middle of the rain
same.
on
They
the
do the
field.
same thing,
But you just don't have fields.
You just don't have field on
this
public.
ground
Yeah.
that you can get to.
right? So
Yep.
and we tried, but
Yeah.
But with all that amount of land there, they're somewhere hanging out, strutting, doing whatever turkeys do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely recommend if you do a Florida turkey hunt, put your time in scouting, especially if, like us, we even talked about going back next year. It's not worth going that far for one afternoon of scouting, trying to hunt the next morning, and then hunting all day Saturday, then hunting a half a day Sunday and coming home. So we talked about taking off a couple days towards the end of the week next year to go and do
Scout a couple days
a
before.
couple days before. Try to get our bearings wrapped around how these Osceolas work in this kind of terrain.
See, my only recommendation on that is if you're hunting opening day, scouting prior to opening day
is
is kind of hit or
crucial.
miss. Well, that's kind of hit or miss
Yeah.
because you might scout 5 birds out and go in opening day and there'd be cars on all those birds.
right.
So, like, I wonder if the day prior, but adding another 2 days on the back end
On the
because
back
those
end.
birds are gonna once they get pressured, just like here. they're
Well, and
gonna
that's the
completely
thing that
change.
we do run into a lot of locals out there too, and they say on youth day, it's like a 90% kill rate for the youth of every
Really?
hunter
Yeah.
they see.
Wow.
They said it's like massive, like amounts of
So
dead
those birds are callable. They're
Oh yeah.
for sure. From the people we've talked to the past 2 years, especially this year, they thought this year was a grand slam.
Oh yeah. They apparently they had a really good year
Very good. youth.
before in youth season, and they said that a bunch of people killed birds.
Which therefore puts a little bit of pressure on them from.
yeah.
And I'm sure there's not that many youth hunting during the week, so the opening day.
And that's
youth-
just the weekend prior.
Yep.
So or the week prior. So there's no gap. So like it's youth season till the day
Straight-
regular
right.
season starts. Okay.
Which that's like our scouting. We never really run into any youth hunters the day before, so I think it's just that opening day of youth weekend that you get your more avid hunters and most pressure,
Yeah.
and it's almost like they get a week of rest before opening day. From what we've seen, just when we've been down there, even Cody and the boys, they say that they don't run into hunters while they're scouting even midweek. Yeah, it's just trying to figure them out. And even Cody and them are very successful their first few years. Everybody in the group would kill. They're getting where they got it figured out.
But they killed. Did they kill? They killed. They didn't kill the year you went. Just one of them did.
Yep.
Right.
And then this year.
Renee was the only that killed out of like
So the last
7
2
others.
years they've kind of had off years.
Been on birds, just
Then they came
finish
together.
them. Yep, just getting them finished. But it's like he keeps telling me, man, like you would not expect a turkey to want to come here, but he will. And I ain't figured that spot out yet as far as what it looks like and what that turkey's willing to get through to get to that hen or to get to that decoy. But judging by some of his footage and what he's been saying, it don't take much of an opening area for him to come strut at all.
And y'all didn't use a decoy when you killed yours because he was that close.
He was that close, and basically probably more or less wouldn't even had time to set up. Used a decoy this year on them 4 that we had out in that field.
Yeah.
Trying to call them off a private, but tough to do when you got 20-something hens out there with them too.
Yeah. We were.
But then we did have a couple mid-morning come out by themselves way away from the flock and working towards us and got to the top of the hill. And all they had to do was come straight across the flat top where we was at. And then they turned and saw the flock. And that's where they went. But out of the woods, they came straight to us when we was calling.
Yeah.
And then they got to the top where they could see that flock, and they gone.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That's we kind of wanted to do something like this on the end of each one of our hunts, kind of get together and kind of go over an overview. I feel like, at least myself, you learn from watching the hunting film, but a lot of times when you're trying to keep it to a certain time frame, you have to leave a lot of stuff out, like the backstory and kind of all the things that go into the hunt. And then in this case, there wasn't a whole lot of footage other than the shot, which you're not really going to get the whole story from that. So that's kind of why we're wanting to do these. So hopefully you guys are enjoying this type of footage. Hopefully you're learning from it. I know I'm learning just from like doing this and the couple we did with Kevin. Just being able to sit and chit chat back and forth, because like I said, I didn't go on this hunt, but after talking to these guys, I feel like I'm a lot more educated on what they went through, and if I end up going with them in the future, I feel like I'll be better off for it. So hopefully this kind of helps any of you guys that are interested in doing like a public land or even private land Florida turkey hunt. Like these guys said, where they hunted is more hybrid area. I've got some other buddies that have hunted farther south on specifically Osceola birds. And some of the stuff that they've kind of ran into is essentially the same, swamps, stuff like that. It seems like Florida, a lot of Florida is essentially that type of habitat. But anyways, guys.
Water moccasins.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to see more of this, comment down below. If you have any questions, just comment down below. And if I can't answer it, I'll reach out to one of these guys and we'll try to get your questions answered. Like I said, hopefully you enjoyed this. Comment down below and let us know what else you guys want to see on the channel. We appreciate you watching.
Remember to live your life to the fullest and use your passions to bless others. We'll catch you on the next video.
Across your mind, say a prayer, I find my way and get off of this lonely road. Can you hear me? Tell me, can you hear me? I've been calling out for help, still don't see nobody.